Welcome to Happiness on Tap podcast, where guests dive deep into the vulnerable experiences that contribute to their happiness. I'm Leanne Herron, certified life and health coach, owner of Finding Resilience with Leanne, and creator and host of this podcast. Thank you for joining us for From Binge Eating to Freedom with Coach Gwen Brown. This
Hi.
episode This episode is part of my health and wellness series. My healing and career path have been influenced through a variety of health and mental health challenges, difficult and traumatic life experiences. And I hope that my story and the stories of my guests like Gwen provide hope and strength to remind others that we can weather any storm if we have the right support. Happiness on Tap's mission is to provide value to our listeners by providing tips and tools to help people realize that they are not alone, while providing education and information to help them improve their daily life, cope better with life's challenges, reduce their stress, and become the best, most authentic version of themselves. I met Gwen through Health Coach Institute. We were both obtained our health and life certification as coaches, but we started at different times in our journey. And it has been a great pleasure getting to know Gwen and learning about her incredible journey through bariatric surgery, her journey of self-discovery, and her passion for helping others. After struggling with her weight her adult life, Gwen took her health into her own hands and came out the other side 200 pounds enlightened. I love that. Her journey of self-discovery, health, and passion to help others has always been something that she has dreamed of making her life's mission. Today, Gwen is a licensed health and life coach, living her mission of helping others see their true potential and their road to healing, happiness, and health in all areas of life. Thank you, Gwen, so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Can you tell me about your life pre-surgery?
Well, most of my adult life, I really struggled with my weight, and it really got out of hand after I started having kids. And after my second daughter, I reached over 300 pounds. And when you're that heavy, it's really difficult just to do really simple, basic things. I found myself isolating myself. I didn't want to be out with people. Walking long distances were hard. I was active, but not, as active as I could be at that weight. And honestly, I had no health issues yet
Wow.
at that point, which was surprising because most people who are that heavy have some health issues. I had a little bit of high blood pressure, but that was about it. And I was just miserable. I honestly felt like I was no longer living my life, that life was just going past me. And I felt like I had no control and I didn't know what to do. And I was in so much pain, just emotionally and physically from the weight that, it was unbearable at times. And so it was a rude awakening, kind of, but a good one. When I decided to look at bariatric surgery. And the interesting thing, my mother-in-law had offered to pay for bariatric surgery, like, I don't know, 10 years before this this epiphany that I had. And I was so insulted.
I can understand that.
I look back on that now and I'm like, gosh, I wish I hadn't waited so long. But you know what? I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready then. I hadn't my food addiction, my emotional distress, I hadn't really reached a rock bottom where I was really willing to do what I needed to do to crawl back out.
Mm-hmm. Oh no. Wow. That was an amazing story. And I understand the kind of being hurt when somebody offers and not being ready to hear it. That for me has
Right.
always been like the biggest thing is you can't change anyone, and people are only going to hear when they're ready to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And as a coach, really learning that, um, I can provide information to everyone, but they're not going to come to me until they're ready for that.
Right. Isn't there a
That's why,
saying like when the teacher, when you're ready, the teacher appears? I can't remember the exact quote, but
yeah, yeah, something very similar to that.
yeah.
So when did you have the surgery? And if you could briefly explain the surgery that you had, because I know
Certainly.
there's different types.
Yes. So I had the gastric sleeve surgery back in April of 2017. And what that means is that rather than the other surgeries, I didn't have any of my intestines rerouted because in the other surgeries, they actually rearrange a few things. With mine, they actually just make the stomach smaller. So it actually, when they do the surgery, it kind of looks like a banana. And the pouch of your stomach is very small. So initially, when you first have surgery, you're only eating like a fourth a cup of protein, or 2 or 3 strawberries. Once you're out of like the initial phase of surgery, so you're eating very, very small quantities. As you move along over the years, though, that obviously changes. And I'm 6 years out now. I eat a normal diet. I no longer do what bariatric patients do. Like a lot of them still follow. They eat every 2.5 to 3 hours. But it depends on how far you're out. Like I would say that's a great recommendation for the first couple of years. But if you have food issues or you're a food addict like I was, that every 2.5 to 3 hours can get it's kind of a slippery slope. The more food you can tolerate, the more variety of foods you can tolerate, and the longer out you are.
Oh, and then that kind of goes to a question that I was going to ask is about like where the difference, like 1 year post surgery or further out, the
Mhm.
changes in diet or your mindset.
Right. Absolutely. So, someone who's 1 year out, I would still kind of call fairly new to the whole lifestyle. If they follow the plan that was put forth by their physicians or whomever is working with them, they'll have pretty good weight loss. But I think one of the things of entrapment that you get in that first year is the mindset that you're behind somehow, behind someone else who posted something. They lost more weight than you, they have a lower BMI, they have whatever, it's crazy. For me, I had lost, I think that first year, almost 100 pounds, and I wasn't happy because some people had done better than I did. So I wasn't celebrating those victories as much as I should have, and just really enjoying the fact that that I took the step and that I was getting healthy and that I was doing all the right things. So it's still fairly new when you're only a year out because you're still in that weight loss phase. And honestly, you can be in the weight loss phase for many years. I mean, I'm a testament to that. In this last year, I've lost an additional 50 pounds.
Congratulations.
And yes, thank you. So I got to my first goal weight. I'm trying to decide if I want to go past that. So, this was like my dream goal weight though. Like when I first did bariatric surgery, I was like, there's no way, because when you do a gastric sleeve, they only predict that you'll lose about 50% of your excess weight. For me, that would have been, I would still be 200 pounds plus, if I had done that. So I think that first year compared to now is when mindset really comes in, because the bariatric surgery is nothing more than a tool.
Mhm.
It's a tool in your bag of tricks for how you're going to live your life. So when people initially get bariatric surgery, they are told that over and over again. I was told that over and over again. Somehow we get it in our head. It's like the silver bullet and everything's going to be great afterwards. And you know what? If you don't change your mindset and you don't change what you were doing before, you're going to get what you got, you know? And that's more and more apparent the farther out for most people that they go, is that they didn't take the time to work on, you know, what got them to that place in the first place, you know, why were they overweight? A lot of it has to do with, you know, it's not all their fault. And I'm not saying that. It's more the fact that, you know, in the society we live in now, we are catered to eat really unhealthy food all the time. And when you start this healthy lifestyle, there's so many people who will start preaching to you about, well, I can't live my life that way. I could never do, you know, because, and I'm like, why? Why not? You know, why can't you? You know, and it's really a decision. And that might sound a little harsh, but it really is a decision that you want to live the life that you want to live. And so what's that mean? You know, what do you want to accomplish? Are you just trying to have better health? Are you trying to run a successful business? Are you trying to create better relationships and connections with people? Are you putting out good energy into the world? What is it that you really want? And it doesn't have to be, you know, for bariatric patients, so much more than that original surgery, and getting them to realize that, you know, once you're 3, 4, 5 years out, that's really when you have to step into yourself and decide what you really want. Did that make sense?
Absolutely. And thank you for talking about that because, you know, I had went through an extreme weight loss point in my life, where I spent more time realizing I was doing it for the wrong reason, for a partner and not for myself. But I had a commitment. Like I made a commitment to myself. I, you know, joined a group, met with people. I made a commitment to, you know, control what I ate. If that meant cooking something different for me, fine. I was doing meal prepping on Sunday, spending an entire day planning for the whole week. But that was just my meals because I knew I could only control me. I couldn't
Right.
control my ex-husband. I couldn't control my son. I could control me, which also meant my time in the gym and you know doing the work, but I wasn't doing the mindset work.
Right.
And you were also talking about how that first year is really difficult. And for me, it was that even though the weight was coming off, I wasn't, my mind wasn't caught up with my body. And so I would look in the mirror or go to try on clothes, and I was still seeing the heavy me, or I was still reaching for the 14s or the 12s. Um, and not, it just was really hard to wrap my head around it. But
Well,
the worst was I'm doing it for the wrong reasons because I really wasn't doing it for myself and for my
well,
health.
that body dysmorphia that you were talking about, that still affects me 6 years out. So it is something that I work on all the time. I will see, you know, somebody will hand me a pair of pants to try on, and I'm like, there is no way I can fit in those.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but in actuality, I can. It's just, you know, it's that visualization of, you know, that body type, that body image. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing. And for a lot of people, that's something they struggle with their whole lives, whether they've lost weight or gained weight, or they're just in really good physical health. You know, it's just really such a weird and strange thing to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to be able to accept a compliment without making some like backhanded, comment like, well, thanks, but I still need to lose 20 more pounds or something, thanks, but I ate a candy bar earlier today or something, you know what I mean?
I do. I absolutely know what you mean. And that is something that my husband is helping me break those bad habits. Because a lifetime of trauma makes you very defensive. It also makes you justify your actions. And so, he's wonderful about the compliments, and I immediately have a response. So it's learning to stop.
Yeah.
To stop that and just say thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It's a hard thing to do, but you can learn to do it. And it does change your perspective, and just, being grateful that they gave you a compliment in the moment, and so that's what I try to focus on now.
Absolutely. So how has the surgery and your life now really impacted your emotional health? Because I know you said that was your darkness before the light.
So I have studied all kinds of self-help stuff forever. I mean, truly, I just found it fascinating when other people read, novels. I'm reading self-help books and cookbooks. I loved reading cookbooks too, because and diet books, and I did every diet out there in the you can imagine, and I always laughed though when I read diet books and they'd say, at some point you're really going to love the food you're eating. And you know what? There was never once ever that I got to that point where I loved the food I was eating until now. And there isn't a necessary a diet that I follow per se. I just eat whole foods and I cut out sugar and flour. So what was your question again? I already got off track.
Your emotional health.
Oh, so my emotional health, yes. So I've been studying for a long time, and really I got pretty skeptical at that time in my life about what I had been reading, what I'd been learning, because my life was not going the way I wanted it to go. And it didn't seem to matter what I was doing at the time to try to make it better, or try to refocus, try to, really come into myself spiritually more, and take a look at what was going on. I guess I wasn't ready to do that yet. And that was a piece that was missing. So that journey, when I decided to do the bariatric surgery was like hand in hand in like coming to the conclusion that it's so important to start loving yourself, and it's so true that you can't really be the person you want to be if you don't like or love yourself. And so I think that was probably the greatest act of kindness I gave myself, was having bariatric surgery. I don't feel like ever that I regretted it, except for maybe the day or two after surgery, just because of surgery, but I really have no regrets. And I know some people have complications, but a lot of people who have complications find that once that those are, calm down, or they have it taken care of, they don't regret having the surgery either. That's been my experience. The point though is that when you get as far out as I am, the mindset is probably the most important piece of it. Yes, you still have your tool from the bariatric surgery, but it's the mindset of continuing to grow, continuing to figure out how you want to walk through this life as this new being, because you're totally different. I mean, my life is totally different than it was 6 years ago.
Sure.
So,
and I'm learning that, with clients or with other people that I come in contact with, that they get, comments from their spouse about the physical body changes, or their own jealousy or insecurity, which maybe they didn't have before, but now they're, in a different state where they're internalizing your choices, your decisions, your growth, and that makes it hard too, I think, for people to um, be happy with where they are and celebrate what got them there and celebrate their wins along the way, when you don't have a negative voice in your head making you feel bad.
Right.
I also wanted to talk to you about like support. What kind of support did you receive, either from the hospital or a support group, after you had the surgery?
Well, I think that's a really interesting question, and that actually is why I got into coaching in general. Because truthfully, there's not a lot of support after surgery. I know locally here in Albuquerque, and I know this is broadcasting all over the place. The support group, like during COVID, shut down completely. We weren't even doing webinars or anything. So I was going to a once a month support group. That was very helpful, just to meet with other people and get their, take on different foods and things like that. And what they were doing, that they were having success with. So when that shut down, that was definitely a lifeline that a lot of us missed. So since then, they have made the support group an actual like medical appointment at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Zoom call with a bunch of people. So you have to like register for it like you're having a doctor's appointment. And they're, okay, that's okay, but that's a horrible time for most people, because most people still work. There's very few that aren't sitting at a desk somewhere at 3:00 in the afternoon, working on stuff. So now it's just not very convenient more than anything. So they have started their support again. I know one of the programs in this area completely stopped even offering bariatric surgery. So those patients, I feel like were just left to fend on their own. And I just know from my experience, most of the stuff that I found online because there wasn't a lot going on around here to help. I wish there was more support. I wish there was more people who were, fired up about this life they've chosen and want to really make the best of it. And so that was the main catalyst that got me to HCI with my good friend Anne-Marie Lex, who you interviewed about a month ago.
Yes. And that, is something that I've learned as well. Like I said, with clients or with other people, was they've had the surgery and then the facility that provided the surgery shut down. And they were just left on their own, and there was no connection, no
Right.
support at all. And so I really wanted to focus on that with you and Anne-Marie, and what you are doing to provide that support, reconnect people with those resources, or bring people to you for coaching, because we all need community.
Right. So Anne-Marie and I are in the process of developing a number of different webinars to be able to offer to the bariatric community, because we just feel like there's a huge need for that. We'd love to be able to do some group coaching in the bariatric community as well, so that people can join like a 6-week boot camp or something to go through some of the basics. And when you're 3 and 4 years out, or you were stuck at home like in COVID times, most of us gained a little weight. I gained weight over that time. And it was kind of hard to get back on track and figure out what I was doing. And once I cut, sugar and flour out of my diet as much as possible and ate only whole foods, that doesn't mean I don't eat fruit, because I do eat fruit, things like that, but I eat whole foods. What a difference. And, I stopped the every 2.5 to 3 hour eating, because frankly, this far out, I have a normal eating schedule like most people. So I eat 3 meals a day. I don't snack. That's a big change for bariatric patients, to go through. So I'd like to help people, and Anne-Marie too, we'd like to be able to show people how easy it is to go from those snacks, because what happens when you're creating all these little snack meals, it's feeding that addictive mind for a lot of us who have had bariatric surgery. I'm not saying everyone's addicted to food. I know I have some issues in that arena. And that's why you mentioned the binge eating, because I was definitely a night binge eater type person. So it is, I lost my train of thought. I'm so glad you're a good friend of mine, Leanne.
Let's go on to like, what kind of self-care tools do you use to maintain your mental and physical health?
Okay. I have a pretty solid morning routine where I get up, and the first thing I do is drink at least 8 to 16 ounces of water, because your body has been dehydrated from sleeping all night, and you sweat a lot when you sleep, especially when you're my age and a woman. So I do that first thing. I don't even have my first cup of coffee for at least 45 minutes to an hour before I get up, after I get up, and I exercise first thing in the morning as well. So those couple of things make a huge difference. The meditation kind of sets you up for your day. You're kind of planning out what you want to happen, how you want your energy to be that day, what you want to bring into your life that day. And every day is different, so some days it's really easy to meditate and some days it's not. It's a practice. That's why it's called a meditative practice. And the more you do things you don't want to do, the easier it gets.
They become.
Yes, exactly. So that's my biggest thing. I do try really hard to focus on the present moment as much as possible, and reminding myself, bringing myself back to it all the time. I'm standing here like holding one of my hearts because I collect heart rocks, and I'm like, that to me is a present moment reminder. It's anchor, if you want to call it that. It just brings me back to the present moment, because the interesting thing about the present moment is that in the present moment there literally is nothing to worry about. And I love that concept, because when you're in the present moment, you are not worrying about your to-do list, and you're not regretting things that happened in the past. You're just in the present moment. And to me, that idea of no worry, no regret, no pressure, I'm just in this present moment, what a difference it makes in your body.
So. Absolutely. Oh man, all those things, all those good things. Having a morning routine is probably my number one thing for myself, and also something that I recommend out to pretty much everyone. I even created a program that I have on my site to help people establish a morning routine. And mine is kind of like yours. I wake up, I make my bed, I have a big glass of water or electrolytes to replenish that lost water. It's a little while before I have my coffee. And then I've kind of added the mushroom coffee lately to reduce the amount of regular coffee. And it's just really had an impact on my mental clarity, my energy for the day, my gut health is better. But just having a routine, I get up, I get dressed, I do my workout. While I'm working out, I'm working my mind because I'm listening to podcasts, or I'm just putting my day forward in place to where I have the most opportunity to be successful. I don't usually pick my podcasts. I let them pick me. for whatever I need for the day. And I'm always just like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I needed today. Thank you. Same with my meditations. I don't pick my meditations, I let it pick me. And again, it's always a message that I needed to hear that day. But it's doing it every day and doing it, like you said, intentful. Like I know, I can go into my morning with my meditation and let it help fuel my intention for the whole day, whether it's gratitude or just how I'm going to be all day long,
Right.
leading with my heart, being in service. Um, and so, yeah, I am a huge proponent of morning routines, and I strongly recommend them to people.
Right. Yeah, I do too. I think that they're super important to how you set up and live your life on a daily basis. Because a lot of times we get so lost in everything else that's going on. Life is just busy in general. And having that ritual in the morning will keep you grounded and keep you focused on what you really want, and keep you moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And one thing too that I always try to teach people who are not used to having a morning routine is that your morning routine can actually start the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps me.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that before I go to bed, my water bottle's full and ready to go. I make sure my MP3 player is charged or my phone is charged. My headphones are handy. I lay out my workout clothes the night before. So as soon as I roll out of bed, I put on my workout clothes, I put on my tennis shoes, and I'm ready to go.
Yep.
And, I take care of all the little things at night before I even go to bed so that I don't wake up worrying about those things.
Yeah.
Packing my lunch or laying out my work clothes or just making sure everything is ready by the door. So I just
Mm-hmm.
walk out the door and I can head into the office.
One thing I often tell people too is that night ritual when you're going to bed and you're doing your power down. I call it the power down hour, where you're not necessarily on your phone or electronics so much. You're brushing your teeth, washing your face, doing your normal self-care stuff. Is as you're laying in bed and falling asleep, think about, a couple of things that you're really grateful for and one thing that you really want to bring into your life. And focus on that one thing as you're falling asleep. And that actually activates your reticular activating system in your
Mm-hmm.
brain. And the more you think of it, so I would think of one thing that you're trying to bring more into your life, and every night for, a month or two, just think of that as you're falling asleep and what you're really trying to create in your life. And that actually allows that section of your brain to look for that in your
Mm-hmm.
day. Because honestly, your brain has so much information going into it, thousands and millions of pieces of information every second, So it curates what you see and
Mm-hmm.
what you hear, because you can't possibly take in all that information.
No. Mm-hmm.
So you have to start telling your brain, that reticular activating system, what you want to see, who you want in your life, the things you want to bring into your life, the things you're focusing on, whether that's success or better friends, or, it really can be anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
Sky's the limit. So,
And I agree. And those are things that I do as well. And it's, when people talk about, oh, I was driving down the street, I just bought a brand new car and I was driving down the street. Now I see that car everywhere.
yeah,
That's because it's at the front of your thought process. It's at the front of
right.
your brain. And so you can control what you want to bring into your life. I'm that way with social media. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a perfect time of year. Everything's becoming more political. And I will suspend seeing certain posts from certain people until the end of the political season.
Right.
And I control exactly what I see. So my phone is sunshine and rainbows all day long. And it's posts from people that are on the same path.
Exactly.
I'm not seeing, all the trauma and the drama and, the negative and all of that. I just turn it off. I'm like, I don't want to see this. And I just stop watching it. So like I said,
Yeah.
I make sure I control what
Yes,
comes in.
absolutely. You are absolutely in control of your life.
And that's,
Absolutely,
yeah, that's
100%.
even, like on my phone and getting into my car, my phone automatically connects and it's wherever I left off in a podcast.
Yeah.
It's not turning on the radio and listening to the news and,
Yeah,
all the commercials and just, no, I control what I hear. I control what I see. I control who I interact with. Um, so I control my happiness.
absolutely.
So what is one thing you really want people to know, Gwen?
One thing that I want people to know is that you are so powerful. I mean, truly powerful. And you can do pretty much anything that you choose to do. The idea of believing in yourself and not giving up on yourself is so important. And I think that most of us are, have been so beaten down over the years that we really can't really believe that those things are possible. But they honestly, I'm here to tell you, they are possible. And sometimes you just need someone to remind you that they are possible. So don't give up. You never know what's right around the next corner. And the only way that you won't be successful at whatever you're going to do is if you give up. If you don't give up, you'll be successful at what you're working at.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so absolutely true. And I try to remind people of that. And it's hard because we live
It's hard.
listening to the voices in our head, whatever we were told growing up. We go into things thinking I'm not good enough. And I know I talked to you when we met about making the choice to go into coaching for me was when I was drowning in drama and trauma, and my brain fog and memory loss was so extreme that I didn't trust myself. I every day was questioning myself, should I really do this? I'm not going to be able to remember all of this. How am I going to remember anatomy? How am I going to remember nutrition? Um, I don't have a background in this. I was an accountant. And we self-talk. And then we also have people that are like, well, are you really sure this is the right move? And you're going to give up. You worked so hard to get here. You went to college for this job and now you just walked away from it. You're going to do something else. And it's taken a while for me to get back into my own confidence. But to do that, I had to do the work to clear the brain fog because that was controlling every decision.
Right.
I could take notes, but couldn't remember where I put them. I could meet people, but not remember the conversations. Um, so it was spending the time really doing the work um, and looking at my supplements and um, everything that really helped improve my mental clarity. And that was like my number one goal was fix this stupid brain fog. And where did it come from? And why is it so bad? Was it COVID? Was it menopause? Is it the trauma? Is it all of it together that has built this giant black cloud? And just saying, okay, well, if this is a permanent thing, I still need to figure out what I can do going forward.
Right.
And for me, it was like learning a new language because I was having to relearn words to communicate where the fog was so thick that I felt like I was hunting through an empty drawer.
Right.
And so I just told myself, well, if this is permanent, the only thing I can control is what I do going forward. And I'm not going to worry about my past and what I've lost. I'm going to worry about making new memories and committing them to memory. And how do I do that? So, I love what you talked about. Um, how important is accountability?
super important because, I'm a firm believer in like the 1% better, everyday kind of mode. I think holding yourself accountable is of the utmost importance because you are your own controller. So I think in the day of instant reward that we're in for everything, it's even more important to be accountable, set some attainable goals, watch those little steps, build on, do building blocks. So you have, a small stack of things you've put on top of each other that get you to your goal. Because honestly, the reaching the goal is great, but all of the living of your life happens in the small steps. It doesn't happen when you attain the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So you're creating the richness of your life through all those small steps that you're building on top of each other. And so being accountable to yourself, getting a coach if that's what you need, if you need someone who's, outside of yourself to take an honest look at what you're doing and help you maybe formulate a plan, to be able to approach it, and look at it from a different stance and to hold you accountable, because that's what coaches do. We're kind and loving, and but we do make sure that you're following where you want to go. So once we work with you and figure out, what you're trying to reach, what goal you're trying to reach, or what you're trying to change in your life, or to help root you on if you're, trying to train for a marathon or whatever your aspiration is, we're there with kindness and a different perspective to be able to help you stay accountable, to help you reach that goal. Because like I said, the living of life is all in those steps. Reaching the goal is fabulous and great, but really you want to build this rich life on the way. And so that's what we really do, is help you step by step to be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Can you give our listeners a couple of tips just to help them stay on track and achieve their health and wellness goals?
Sure. I think first of all, you have to think about what those would be for you. Everybody's health and wellness goals are much different. What works for me isn't necessarily exactly what you're going to want to do. I think it's important to know those things, like what is my, what do I want to do in 6 months? What do I want to do in a year? Where do I see myself in 2 years, 5 years? I think it's super important to journal. Because that's where you work out a lot of those things. And I call it, like, if you're really going through something and you need clarity, I tell people to pull out a journal and do what I call a brain dump, and just journal until your pen, it doesn't matter what you're writing, what you're saying, what you're thinking, do not lift your pen off the page of paper until you absolutely can't write anything else. And that's a very helpful tool, because then you go back and you read them. Sometimes your journaling is like very profound, and sometimes you're like, oh, that's whatever, but it's a practice, and it's getting used to being able to just do that brain dump and get that out of your head so that you can look at it on paper. And typically, once you do that, you will come to some better conclusions and ways to figure out steps you need to take to be able to do that. And finally, I would say my other big piece of advice is who you want to be is so important, because people feel that when they meet you. And people hear it in your voice when you talk to them. So being an authentic person in your own self, you're different from me, I'm different from you, you're different from Leanne, but we all bring amazing things to the table. And recognizing that not only in yourself, but in whomever you're speaking with, will absolutely revolutionize how you're living your life. if you fully focus on, I see the good in you, you'll be surprised at how your life changes.
Absolutely. And I think that goes, you receive back what you put out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what you were saying, when you show someone that you see them and that you're hearing them, um, they're they kind of get into their comfort zone where they talk to you and say things that they wouldn't say because they're feeling seen and they're feeling heard. Um, and that just makes a huge difference. But I know that for myself, it's almost hearing back from somebody, like things you said that you didn't even think about. And I try to be so intentful, but when I'm telling certain parts of my story, things that maybe I did, like getting through school in my 30s, going to college, raising kids, and the commitment that I made to make that happen in the amount of time that I did, or completing my certification in 6 months, and sticking to the time that I gave myself to get it done, was seeing those commitments. Like, I didn't go anywhere without my laptop. I didn't take vacations unless the laptop was with me. I made sure that I was still doing the work every day to achieve my goals. Um, and just
Amazing.
being
And actually you made Anne Marie and I stay on track with um our licensing as well, because we were both like, hey, if we do this, we can still be on track. And so you gave us some great ideas to be able to do that, and we both appreciated it. So
oh, thank you. That is so sweet. And like I said, I'm here to help as your journey continues transitioning either from, working part-time to being a full-time coach. But where can people find you, Gwen, so that they can follow your journey or maybe even reach out to you for coaching?
okay, well, I am in the process of setting up a website, so I don't have that available yet, but you can reach me right now on Instagram at Coach Gwen Brown. And then on Facebook, I'm Gwen Brown, which is hard to find because there's lots of Gwen Browns, but I am there. And you can always send me an email, and my email is yourhealthcoachgwen@gmail.com.
Oh, thank you so much, Gwen. I really appreciate your time, your vulnerability, your tips, and your story. I know are going to provide so many people with direction or with answers or with resources. And I think so many people are looking for resources and alternative ways of connecting with people and getting back out of COVID and back to communicating with people. And we all just need that. So thank you
Absolutely.
for creating support services for people who lost all their support, and also being able to provide, everyday tips to help them achieve their goals and to help them with, the body dysmorphia, or just letting them know that this is normal and we all experience it. Um, because the more we can connect and make people feel seen and heard, the more we can do to change lives.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Gwen, for joining me. And everyone, if you enjoyed this interview, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Finding Resilience with Leanne. This podcast, Happiness on Tap, is available on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and Google Podcasts. And for more information, please check out my website, again, at Finding Resilience with Leanne. And be sure to subscribe to my email tribe to receive exclusive promotions, new products, service announcements, and notifications of upcoming blogs or podcast episodes. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Oh, wrong button. There we go. Goodbye, everyone. Thank
Goodbye.
you, Gwen.
Thank you.